Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, how you doing? I'm sitting here mulling my reaction to something here. By the way, hello. February 10, anybody's keeping track, 2022. My last show for a month. So, which I hope gives me the needed respite from all of this. Whether or not I can actually tune it out is another question, which I guess I'll find the answer to. No, I'm trying to figure out my reaction to this news of the fact that a new board game is being created. And when I first saw this, my reaction was just totally negative. But by the time I got done with it, reading the story, I was more intrigued. But I think generally it's a negative. I don't know. Al Franken, remember him? Almighty. Al Franken was drummed out of Washington, D.C., and people, look who's there. Not drummed out. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz. Those slime balls somehow are okay to serve. Jesus God. Okay, so this is Al Franken's he worked with Franken when he was a senator. Not quite sure what the position. Press secretary. And also a political consultant. So here's a guy who really knows how Washington operates. And he's come up with a game called Political Arena, in which you take on the role of an avatar. You create your avatar by picking a kind of politician you want to be. You actually pick certain character traits. You're obsessed with media. You're a populist. You're whatever. You pick a character that will be in the Senate. And you can actually sort of pick essentially like Mitch McConnell. And your adversary in the game is the computer and the scenarios it throws at you. So you're role playing the more I thought about it, isn't the reality of it enough? Why do we have to make it into a game? Although it's so clear that the way so many in Washington, D.C. approach our governance, pretty heavy duty responsibility, is as if it were a game. And there are really good game players. Mitch McConnell comes to mind. And really lousy ones. So they're coming out with this. I got a feeling that a lot of, certainly political junkies are going to want to play it. But think, you're making a game like this about essentially how American politics work. And there are three things that as a gamer, you're trying to accrue. This says a lot about how politics work. You're trying to accrue political capital. You're trying to accrue fame. And you're trying to accrue power. And those three things add up to your kind of, how tough you are score, how important you are score. And just as it works in the real Congress, the more money, fame, and political capital you accrue, generally the better you do. But the computer is like constantly throwing things at you, like someone in your party tweets a racist meme or is having an extramarital affair, and then you got to deal with that. I don't know. So they're working on this. Would you get into this? Political arena. The focal point, the idea of how the game works is you accrue power. Ugh. I don't know. See, my sense is that it's also corrupted. Why not just make it into a damn corrupted game? Something in me finds it depressing. Okay, so I'm sorry. I wasn't even going to talk about that. It just happened to be what I was reading last I saw you. I found myself in my car yesterday, and I was stuck behind I swear it was like a U-Haul van kind of thing. U-Haul box, not a big one, but I don't know what a box truck is. What constitutes a box truck? I would call it a box truck, I guess. And this guy was going all of like 10 miles per hour. There were cars parked on both sides of this road. I couldn't get past him. And his window was open. And the first time he did it, I was just stunned. He threw, I see his left arm emerge from the window. And he throws this rather large, clear plastic bag with something in it. Like it goes over one of the parked cars and lands on, I don't know, either the sidewalk or someone's lawn. And I thought, what the hell? I mean, I've seen people litter throwing things from their car, but it was so egregious. It was so large. And then, damn, he did it again. He moved a little bit, and it became obvious he was throwing things onto each yard, over cars parked, over the sidewalk if he had a good throw, and onto somebody's lawn. And what the hell is what I'm thinking. Also, I'm thinking that because I can't stand being stuck behind anybody, let alone somebody who's littering the landscape in the manner he was. Finally, there was an opportunity where there weren't cars parked on my side where I daddled around him. I'm sure it was a maneuver that was not lawful in many ways, but it was perfectly okay and safe. Nobody was around. And I got around this SOB and I made my way home. When I got home, what did I find? In my driveway, I found a clear plastic bag, and inside of it were 2 phone books. So that's what this guy was throwing on people's lawns. Phone books that they didn't ask for. Phone books that they're not going to use. Phone books that if they're like me and discovered them littering their lawn or driveway, they picked them up and threw them in the trash as soon as they saw what it was. And if they're good citizens, threw them in a recycling bin, took them out of the plastic bag and did that. question is, who's doing that? Why do you ever use a phone book? I'm serious. Do you have a phone book in your house that you actually utilize? It's not as though these phone books have your neighbors' names and addresses and phone numbers in them, because they don't. They're all like, I think businesses, right? I have no idea. But the idea, and it struck me because just the other day somebody had said to me, and I cracked up laughing. Look in the phone book. It was an older person. Look it up in a phone book. It's a phone book. I mean, that's as retro as phone booth. So why do they keep wasting all these resources on foisting off on people who don't want them these stupid, archaic, wasteful things? I don't know. I don't get it. Somebody's actually making money doing this? Well, I suppose the guy was, littering landscapes while driving 10 miles per hour in his rented truck. Must have been getting paid, but God almighty. I'm just saying, if you haven't gotten your phone book yet, it's coming. So, I want to say that in terms of an obituary for today, I did not know of Betty Davis, not that Betty Davis, the actress, but the Betty Davis who is featured in the obituaries in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette today, but also gets a pretty big obit in the Washington Post. I haven't seen if the New York Times also did. This is a woman who has been living in Homestead for a long time now. She was raised in part in Homestead. She left Homestead to go to New York City, where she started a career in which she apparently blazed like totally new pathways in what was it called? Funk? She married Miles Davis, of course, a year later. But he always said of her, she was ahead of her time. She was a beautiful woman. Miles Davis, in his autobiography, said she was something like Prince, only a woman. And yet she ended up back here, came home to, I guess, take care of her mom. And she lived a mostly reclusive life here. She didn't give interviews in person ever. She talked to some people on the phone. And strangely, like 3 years ago, she put out an album. But she was like 75 or something, called A Little Bit Hot Tonight. First album she'd released in 40 years. She was real close to Jimi Hendrix. And in fact, part of what helped break her and Miles Davis up is Miles Davis was always absolutely certain that she and Jimi Hendrix were having an affair. She said wasn't true. And having read the other autobiography of Cicely Tyson, which I've talked to you about, who also married Miles Davis after this, the picture that they both paint of a this volatile person does dovetail. Miles Davis also said she was the first of so many things. Madonna. She was Madonna before Madonna. She was Prince before Prince. And I don't know this person. And she was living right here. Betty Davis. And I saw that somebody I follow has posted one of her albums, and I'm looking forward to listening to it later today. The Washington Post said this of her: 99.9% of the people inhabiting this fantastic planet managed to remain oblivious. Betty Davis, when she was clawing at their ears in real time. Well, count me among the 99.9. And they too suggest she was just way ahead. So she leaves Homestead as a young woman, teenager, and in the early 60s, and attends the Fashion Institute of Technology, but spent a lot of time at night on this, in the music scene, where she got tight with Sly Stone, Jimi Hendrix, Andy Warhol, and met Miles Davis. The Washington Post says that hers is an impossible story. How a voice that loud, proud, freaky, funky, nasty, hungry, horny, and humane manages to stay inside a person once it's been let out. And she told a reporter for the Washington Post over the phone 4 years ago, I didn't just fade off the planet. I just decided that period of my life had changed. I don't know. Still haven't heard her myself. I'm looking forward to that after the show. But I'm often so out of it when it comes to music. And just to know that she was, geographically, so she was here. This woman who lived this amazing life and pushed music in a way and never got the kind of recognition she should have had. And then chose to just silence. Extraordinary. Betty Davis. I'm sure some of you are more with it than me, but I'm looking forward to acquainting myself. The Washington Post headline is Betty Davis was the original funky diva. Oh, there you have it. I'm sorry. So one of you, Kurt, sent me something really interesting the other day. Some snippets that he's come across on, Black history, and specifically focusing on certain people. And one he sent me, I'm just going to share a little bit of it with you, because this is a woman who I thought I knew a lot about. because she was so, I mean, to me, she had a huge impact on me because I had never seen a woman, let alone a black woman, with such authority, with such an ability to communicate and with an eloquence. A speech that she gave at a Democratic convention is some say is one of the greatest political speeches of all time. So, I'm talking about Barbara Jordan, and the list of firsts that are next to her name is just mind-blowing. She died young, and she suffered, and I didn't have any idea. She had multiple sclerosis. She had leukemia. That's what finally killed her. Bill Clinton wanted to put her on the Supreme Court. So, as we wait for finding out who is likely to be our first black woman justice, she conceivably would have been years and years and years ago. But he didn't because of her bad health. She wasn't going to last long, and in fact, she was dead in 1996. She was the first black American from the South, male or female, elected to Congress since 1898. That was 1972. Wow. First black woman from the South to sit in the House of Representatives. She was remarkable. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And her last first was when she became the first black woman to be buried in the Texas state cemetery. And one thing that I find out from reading this little blurb about her that I did not know is that she was a lesbian and that she had a long relationship with a woman named Nancy Earl. So people would have had, this is before anyone who was gay, let alone black, let alone a woman, was going to get elected to anything. And she was all of that. Lived her life with this integrity. What a remarkable human being. Anyway, I just want to share that one because I'm so sorry that she didn't live longer. Okay. All right. Seem to be doing black women, don't I? Hang on. Now I've got my... listen to the old lady try to deal with her computer. Okay, I got it now. Okay, and now from black women to white woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Could this person actually be as ignorant, as loathsome, vile, and hateful as she is? Yes. I mean, let me answer my question. Yes, obviously, she reinforces constantly. The latest, though, it's the first time I've ever laughed at anything she said. And in case you hadn't heard it, she was ranting about something that, of course, was not true, about how Nancy Pelosi controls the Capitol Police, which, by the way, she, of course, does not, and that she had the Capitol Police supposedly do a security check on her office, on Green's office, and that it really was an illegal attempt to, look at stuff she had there. It's totally, again, BS, made up, but it seemed like the kind of thing that, her followers would eat up. And she's long suggested that Democrats are like Nazis. Again, the lack of self-awareness and history, just astonishing, since she's the Nazi. But she said, let me find the quote, here it is. Here's the quote. So she's fulminating about Pelosi getting the Capitol cops to spy on Republican members of Congress, and here's what she said. Pelosi's gazpacho police spying on members of Congress, spying on the work we do, on our staffs, and spying on American citizens that want to come to talk to us. Pelosi's gazpacho police. That is what she said. I've listened to it. She didn't say Gestapo, which is, I guess, what she intended to say. But when you're Marjorie Taylor Greene, somewhere in the cesspool of your head, you can see where Gestapo, gazpacho would get a little mixed up. So we now have the gazpacho police from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I want to thank her for the first time allowing me to laugh at something she said. While we're on the subject of unbelievably stupid Republicans saying unbelievably stupid things, let us go to, let's see, Hudson, Ohio, right next door. And what is bizarre about what I'm going to share with you here is that it has to do with the mayor of Hudson, Ohio, saying something at a city council meeting in that town. And he's a Republican. And the council was dealing with a subject that I was talking about Tuesday with my sister, a subject that I don't believe I've ever talked about on air in my life. And it's just weird how, I bring up a subject I never talked about in my life. And that takes some doing because I've been talking for a million years here. And then just a few days later, up pops this other thing, this ridiculous story. And it's under the same heading. And that heading, that topic is ice fishing. Ice fishing on lakes. And the city council of Hudson, Ohio, had before it an issue because there were certain people in the town who wanted to be able to ice fish on Hudson Springs Lake. And that is something that has been off limits. Apparently somebody died, or a few people have died. Was going through the ice. I don't know. And so the city council was talking amongst themselves about whether or not they should let these guys who want to fish for living on ice do so legally. And then the mayor woke up. Mayor is obviously a brilliant man named Craig Schubert. I will simply quote. If you open this up to ice fishing, well, on the surface it sounds good, then what happens next year? Does someone come back and say, I want an ice shanty on Hudson Springs Park for X amount of time? And then, if you allow, let's say, ice fishing with shanties, then that leads to another problem. Prostitution. Just some data points to consider. It says here in the account that I read, the room went silent for several seconds before council members moved to the remaining agenda items. Nobody said boo about. Nobody said, Mr. Mayor, would you like to explain how ice fishing leads to prostitution? Okay. Anyway, there you have it. He thinks that I'm not even. I'll just leave it there. A spokesman for the city suggested, when asked for comment by a Washington Post reporter, said, I suggest you contact the mayor, and went on to say, we have no issues with prostitution anywhere in Hudson. You'll need to speak to the mayor regarding his personal comments. Oh, God, gazpacho and prostitution in ice shanties, and thinking back to yesterday, butterfly refuges where children are being trafficked. These people. And what are we going to do? What are we going to do with them? God. Now, something I do want to point out that I saw, and this was in the local paper, that this race, this primary between Fetterman, Connor Lamb, and I don't mean to disparage Malcolm Kenyatta, but he doesn't have a chance. It's going to be Lamb, Fetterman, holding the Democratic banner in this incredibly important race to determine who's going to replace Aunt Toomey. James Carville, no slouch when it comes to politics and playing the game. James Carville, who calls Connor Lamb a dear friend, has organized a super PAC. A super PAC can raise gazillions because the laws that hold a campaign to limits on how much people can give do not apply to super PACs, because there's always got to be a way around any law that these people write that might have an impact on them. So super PACs do not have to abide. They can, you can give $100 million to a super PAC. The super PAC is there to get Connor Lamb elected, and specifically, as Carville writes, to get him through this very difficult primary. So obviously, James Carville and a lot of others think Fetterman is not the candidate with the best chance of winning, obviously. Because the most important thing is to get that seat. And I've been back and forth about it. Connor Lamb, I mean, we have to have that seat. Connor Lamb, by all indications, would be the perfect guy. He's moderate in a state that is not wildly to the left. He has proven that he can win in Republican areas. He supports enough of the Democratic agenda that he ain't Joe Manchin. And Fetterman has outraised him thus far. That's what this is all about. To erase the money advantage that Fetterman enjoys. So just a heads up. I know we're being subjected to these horrific ads on the Republican side of this primary. And that will not stop. That will only get worse and worse and worse to the point where we're all going to have to go into isolation somewhere. But I still think that they might be wrong and that Fetterman might be the guy by virtue of the fact that given the way politics work now, he's exceptional in the way he presents himself, and the people are drawn to that. Connor Lamb, you couldn't pick out of a lineup of political wannabes because he looks just like all of them. You know, clean cut, former Marine, and wearing a suit and tie. And I don't mean to disparage him, but he just looks like what you're supposed to look like. Fetterman, of course, does not. Harville and others think that's a big disadvantage. Supposed to elect this 6'8" shorts wearing, bald, scary looking guy. He should be in the Senate. Yeah, I think the way America works now, America would love to see him in the Senate. And his politics, like Connor Lamb's, don't always fit where Democratic voters are. Both of these guys on fracking are not where you'd want them to be, but maybe they're both there because they gotta be a win. I don't know. I wish I did because that's like such an important vote. My sense is the Republicans will go for this McCormick. And McCormick going against Connor Lamb is like, two squeaky clean looking, mainstream, good veterans made good. And there's no, but Fetterman going against McCormick. I don't know. You see my concern. And here's my concern. I'm not talking about their politics. I'm talking about who's going to get elected. That's all anybody should be thinking about. I don't know. Anyway, it's quite clear that the Fetterman does not have the support of Hey, Kevin, can you text me when somebody is on the phone? Because I did not see that. I'm sorry. And Ruth just said she remembers that yesterday I apologized for not seeing the calls, and she's asking, did I have any today? And it turns out, yes, I did, and they hung up because I didn't notice. So Kevin, rather than text me, please Gmail me, and I got a shot then of seeing it. That's all I'm saying. The Super Bowl. I am not talking about the Super Bowl. I am talking about the gambling that goes on. And not just around the Super Bowl, because gambling is, again, in between the cringifying back and forth political ads maligning other candidates that we're subject to with our televisions on. The other most annoying thing, if not even more so, is the constant ads of how you can bet on sports. You can bet on anything. You can bet on sports like who's going to make the next tackle. I mean, you can bet on the minutia of everything that happens in the game. You can. There are so many companies now trying to cash in on this. The amount of money involved is, I'm sure, mind-blowing. And you know, it was just the other day, seems to me, that the NFL flat out said there is no way that we will allow any gambling. I mean, this is Roger Goodell, 2012. It's a very strongly held view in the NFL, the threat that gambling could occur, or fixing of games, or that any outcome could be influenced by the outside, could be very damaging to the NFL and very difficult to ever recover from. Might be thinking about the Black Sox 100 years back. And we already have this Flores telling us that his coach told him to lose so they could get a high draft pick. 2015, here's Goodell again. We oppose gambling. I don't anticipate us changing that going forward. Well, never mind. There's Jerome Bettis. He's hawking some. It's all. I mean, the New York Times sports section, every sports section, they now, half of it is just betting stuff, betting information. Now, I bring this up because I am a real curmudgeon when it comes to gambling. I don't get it. I think it's almost always a fool's errand. I don't believe in easy money. Of course, people win. I mean, so there's reason to always believe. I just think it's stupid. And I think it's great for people who have money to lose. But my sense is that so many people who don't have money to lose are the ones that bet. And they bet because they're egged on by the second most popular groundhog in Pennsylvania. The state, our tax dollars go to lure people into betting. And I find that just extraordinary. This is a state that won't let you buy some booze where you want to because they're very concerned about our health. But gambling, you go right ahead. Never mind that gambling addiction has been known to destroy people's lives, left, right, and center, every bit as much as alcohol addiction. And you know who allowed all this to happen? Oh, yeah, the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that a law that was passed in 1992 that limited sports betting primarily to just Nevada couldn't stand. And now we've got 30 states, and you wonder who the 20 holdouts are, 30 states and DC and Puerto Rico, allowing sports gambling online, in person. 30% of all Americans can place a legal wager, not just on the Super Bowl, but on almost anything. And I got to tell you, this ruins people's lives. Invariably, you see the stories on the news. Seems like the stories are often older women. Very good women, but who get hooked on going to the casino or playing, and they end up losing so many bets, and they end up owing, then they end up stealing or embezzling. I have a caller. Hello? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. I got this crappy phone, and then I dropped it in the washing machine the other day, so who knows what the hell's going on.
It's working. It's working.
Yeah, for now. Well, I had a good friend that had problems with gambling, and he started this business. He hired me to help him, and I could just see, like, everything was there for everybody to be, do very well, but he, in the pizza shop next door, there was a poker machine, and he'd try to get cash deposits, and he would go over there, and whatever he had to put in that machine. It was pretty horrifying. But why I called was that Betty Davis. She's pretty great. They made a documentary about her.
I heard that. Yeah,
and it ran here in Pittsburgh, and then they went over to that Regent Square used to be theater.
Yeah.
And they got her whole band from South Carolina or North Carolina to come up, all these old dudes, and they laid it down, and they got these 5 girls from Pittsburgh to sing different songs. It was they showed the movie, and then they played about 10 songs.
Oh, wow.
Talked to the band, and the performances were out of this world. I was lucky. I took my 2 boys. They were probably like 18 and 16, and it was fantastic. It was out of this world.
Oh, lucky you. When was that? How? Not too long ago.
I'd say it might have been 3 or 4 years ago.
And was she there?
No, she refused to. They were trying to get her to do like a phone interview with her, and at the place, and she was too shy, I guess. Also, I just drove past my neighbor's house, and one neighbor has out on his deck, "Fuck Biden" and "Trump. I love Trump," and all over, hanging out in front of his house. But the neighbor,
isn't that nice?
A friend of mine.
Yeah.
The neighbor a couple years ago put this big banner on the front of his house with like Trump screaming, and it said, "Idiots elect idiots." And I just noticed that he just changed them, and he's got 2 big banners across the front of his porch, and one is Obama and Michelle, like in a very touching, picture, which probably drives that neighbor berserk with the Trump flags. And also the other one's a really nice, flattering picture of the vice president. I don't know how to say her name.
Well, you gotta wonder. I hope nobody gets hurt. It starts with dueling signs, and then who knows what happens. I mean, why would people feel a need? And it's the Trump guy who started it to,
yes.
Stick in everybody in the neighborhood's face what he does. I mean, why would people do that? It's so unneighborly.
I work with closely with a couple devout Trumpers. They just go berserk at anything. If you tell them something that doesn't match, they short circuit. They flip out.
Wow.
And they want. I'll tell you what I've heard them say is they are sick and fucking tired. All these black people getting all their money. They are sick of it, and they're done with it.
There you go. They're
so
just
pissed.
flat out racism. Wow.
They're not racist. They'll start screaming they're not
they are.
racist. They'll scream up and down and beat their chest. I live next to black people. I'm not racist. The one favorite incident of mine was I found out the one had a Confederate flag hung on his front porch for a while. And, I said, why would you do that? And he said, well, blah, 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 whatever mumbly goop comes out of their mouth. I said, it's a flag of traitors and a flag of complete losers.
Yep.
What do you mean? Those people shot and killed Americans, U.S. citizens, murdered them. And we can't even discuss it anymore. Well, have some good time off. And
thank you. Thank you, and thank you for calling. I appreciate it. Bye-bye. Bye. Yeah. So back to gambling. I just wanted to say that part of what made me do the rant is I came on this story. A nun in Southern California, God, how old was she? 80 plus years old. And she's been a nun since she was 18. She was a teaching nun for almost 60 years, principal of a school for 28 years. And when she retired, they found out that she had been diverting funds to underwrite her gambling addiction. She's now going to jail for a year. She stole, what is it? It's unbelievable. She stole $835,000 over the years from the church to feed her gambling addiction. She was always heading off to Las Vegas and Tahoe. And after she admitted it, yeah, she's in her 80s. She's obviously, can you imagine a life that everybody else who always knew her found her to be a wonderful woman in every way, but she had this shame, this addiction, which caused her to do things that she would otherwise never have done. She has said, I've sinned, I've broken the law, I have no excuses. This was in violation of my vows, my commandments, the law, and above all, the sacred trust that so many had placed in me. You can't even imagine, after 62 years of service. And the judge said it just drove him crazy to sentence her. The worst thing that she's done in her life. But he said nuns have to realize that just by living their lives, they affect children. The example they set. It's, wow. And so I bring this up because she's not alone. There are so many people whose lives, whose families will be destroyed. And now that you can, used to be if you wanted to gamble, what? You had to get on a bus, you had to drive somewhere, you had to who knows what. And now you can sit at home. You don't even have to get out of bed. There's something so awful about governments making money off of something that harms so many people. I just don't get it. I think they should give it back to the bookies, criminalize it again, and give it back to bookies. I don't know. We've got some callers. Okay, let's get you guys in before I have to shut up. Okay, I'm aware of two. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Kurt.
Hello. Yes, hi, Kurt.
Hi. Hey, just real quick, I'm with you on Fetterman because I think in today's politics, you're going to win with a personality. And Connor Lamb is milquetoast. And the Carville group, they're probably looking at very traditional things like he's a moderate. We can sell him as a moderate. He's not really progressive. We can convince people that he's not. But I think that's an uphill battle. Whereas Fetterman, if you think about getting the votes in Pennsylvania and how they voted for Trump because he spoke his mind, well, you give him Fetterman, you definitely get somebody that speaks his mind, and you get somebody that looks like them. And I think he can capture that rah, let's go get him vote, even though he's a progressive at heart. He's got a good story to tell in Braddock, and I don't know. I like him for all those reasons. So. Yeah,
well, I have my doubts about him, but I still think he might be the. I don't know. I need to know, so I know I'm voting for the guy who's going to win. But thank you for agreeing with me that Fetterman just could be that guy because of how we do politics now. It's all a game. It's a game show, and he's a candidate that stands out.
Yeah, and he's a progressive at heart, so I don't have
at heart, and he's no dumbbell. He's smart. So yeah, okay.
So all right, hey, have a good.
Thank you.
Have some good time off.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kurt.
All right.
Bye. Bye. And one more caller. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Not the last caller, but the earlier caller. All I can say is some of my best friends are black.
Wait, what did he say that makes you say that? I don't even remember.
Oh, well, he was accusing Republicans of being racist, and I just think that's a little heavy-handed. Don't you think anybody who votes for Trump, they're not all racist?
Oh, I see.
No,
okay.
I'm just joking, So, yeah, the gambling thing, it's what we rely about. It's our budget now, and it's on the backs of people who probably can least afford it. It's I call it the stupid tax. The lotteries that we started 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And regarding Fetterman, we only Rambo can get elected now, and I have no problem with Fetterman, but that's what it's going to take to get the Pennsylvanians to get a Democrat in the Senate in Pennsylvania now. So
you're saying what? Connor Lamb? What?
No, no. We got to get Fetterman, and we need.
Okay, I misunderstood.
We need our Rambo basically because everybody's got to be a tough guy. Luckily, Fetterman is not he's got a lot more on the ball than, let's say, Taylor Greene and some of these other yahoos that are in Congress right now. He's not just, he looks like a Rambo, but I think there's a lot more to him. But that's what we need to get some of these yahoos to vote for him. Connor Lamb won't get it. I think Carville's wrong. He's backing the wrong guy, and I hope he doesn't screw things up for us.
I wish I knew. I wish I
When did
knew.
you-
My gut tells me Fetterman, but I just don't know. As I said, Connor Lamb, and the other caller just called him milquetoast. I mean, he just doesn't stand out. And
No.
and this is the way media works now, the way it all works. Standing out is probably a good thing, especially if you have a intelligence behind it, not some idiot like Marjorie Taylor Greene and her gazpacho and Nazi stuff all the time. No,
Oh my gosh.
Fetterman is not that. So I don't know.
No. I mean,
We'll find-
we need our loudmouth, but we can get a loudmouth who's also got some substance behind him, and I think Connor Lamb would be wonderful, but we need to get elected, and Connor Lamb can't get it across the middle of our state. It's he just can't rely on votes from Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And that's where Fetterman has a better chance than Connor Lamb in the long run. And it's qualifications be damned, right?
Well, I think they both have qualifications.
Oh, they do.
They both are capable of being in the Senate and representing us.
But they do. But you put Connor Lamb against some Yahoo Republican. That Republican's probably going to win. But Fetterman stands a better chance because Pennsylvanians see big, strong guy stands out, has a strong voice, and and I think Fetterman is a good guy. I don't, generally speaking, but he's much more electable in this new political reality we have now. So,
okay, I don't.
One question for you: when do you come back?
I come back in a month.
What date is that? Or
well, the first show would be like March, 14th, maybe.
Oh, okay, all right.
March, 14th. Okay.
Well, enjoy your time away, and I do hope you return. I think you'll be tempted not to, and I wouldn't blame you.
What? Not to just say forget about it, but no, I will see. We'll see. I think we'll find out. I'll see you guys in a little over a month. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope so. All right.
Thank
Enjoy
you,
yourself.
Roger. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye. And thank all of you. And I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm upsetting your routines by disappearing on you, but I gotta do this. I just gotta. I'm telling you. People close to me would say, "You have no idea. She's got to do this." Okay. Talk to you in a month and a few days. Okay. Stay safe and stay engaged, please. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.